Shema Israel. Hope you enjoy this next study. My name's Dee. This is my wife, Millie.
So if you like what you see, subscribe and hit the notification bell. And if you wish to reach out to us, you can email us at devotedtoyah@gmail.com.
And there was a division among them. They said to the blind man again, "What do you say about him? Because he opens your eyes." He said, "He is a prophet." But the Yahudim did not believe concerning him, that he had been blind and received his sight, until they called the parents of him who had received his sight. And they asked them, saying, "Is this your son, who you say was born blind? How then does he now see?" They needed the parents for proof. His parents answered them and said, "We know that this is our son and that he was born blind. But by what means he now sees, we do not know. Or who opened his eyes, we do not know. He is of age. Ask him. He's old enough to speak for himself. He will speak for himself." His parents said these things because they feared the Yahudim. For the Yahudim had agreed already that if anyone confessed that he was Messiah, he would be put out of the synagogue. Therefore his parents said, "He is of age. Ask him." So they again called the man who was blind and said to him, "Give God the glory. We know that this man is a sinner." And he answered and said, "Whether he is a sinner or not, I do not know." Sometimes it's a little irrelevant. Wouldn't you agree? If somebody heals you, well, no, let me rephrase this. Obviously, we don't want somebody who is a sorcerer, a Wiccan, some Wiccan priestess or warlock of some sort, right? We don't want to deal with them spirits, right? But if somebody is a believer in the God of Israel, in the Bible, and we get healed by them, I would say it's irrelevant whether their doctrine, some of their doctrine might be off. They might be off on this particular topic or not. I am willing to put that aside for the moment because this brother has a level of faith and is being used by Yah to perform a miracle. I'm humble enough to put that aside. We can debate about that some other time. Whether he is a sinner or not, I don't know. One thing I know, that though I was blind, now I see. Then they said to him again, "What did he do to you? How did he open your eyes?" He answered them, "I told you already, and you did not listen. Why do you want to hear it again? Do you also want to become his disciples?" I love that. I love that. That's a smart little kid. That is a little snappy, witty. That is a witty young man right there. He answered, "I already told you. You're not listening. Why do you want to hear it again from me? Do you want to become his disciple? Do you want him to teach you? Do you need him to come and teach you?" Then they reviled him and said, "You are his disciple? You are his disciple, but we are Moses' disciples. We know that God spoke to Moses. As for this fellow, we do not know where he is from." Don't you hear a lot of that in the from the Israelites who only believe in the Old Testament, or Jewish people? There's some people, be careful. There are some quote unquote Messianic Israelites who believe in the New Testament who are starting to waver. They start wavering. It usually starts with Paul. They don't believe Paul is a true prophet, apostle, right? Which is in line with slander and gossip, by the way. The sin there is slandering and gossiping against somebody and causing discord. That is an abomination to Yahuwah. That is the sin there. For those people teaching that Paul is a false teacher and stuff, that is slander, gossip, and causing discord amongst the assembly. Because now you got to go against the other apostles who witnessed in their writings that Paul is an official, authentic apostle to the Gentiles. So now you can't just go against Paul's epistles. Now you got to go against some of Acts, Peter, especially the last the last book of Peter, the last chapter. All right. So now you're walking in sin. That's how it starts. Oh man, you know the Old Testament, one of the biggest things I hear from these anti-Messiah heretics, they say, oh, the Old Testament says, thus saith the Lord, thus saith Yah. You don't really have that in the New Testament. There is no thus saith Yah. What you mean we don't have thus saith Yah? Yah is on the earth speaking. Yahusha is Yah in the flesh. And then the apostles have his spirit living within them. And miracles, signs, and wonders are being done. Anyway, want to get that off my chest. But this is the same kind of spirit we're dealing with right here in verse 28. Then they reviled him and said, you are his disciple, but we are Moses' disciple. We know that God spoke to Moses. He said, thus saith Yahuwah, thus saith Yahuwah, thus saith Yahuwah. As for this fellow, we don't know where he is from, because he don't come around saying, thus saith Yahuwah. Verse 30, the man answered and said to them, why? This is a marvelous thing, that you do not know where he is from, yet he has opened my eyes. Now we know that God does not hear sinners, but if anyone is a worshiper of God and does his will, he hears him. Since the world began, it has been unheard of that anyone opened the eyes of one who was born blind. I'll read that again. Now we know that God does not hear sinners, but if anyone is a worshiper of God and does his will, he hears him. Since the world began, it has been unheard of that anyone open the eyes of one who was born blind. I think that's accurate, isn't it? I don't know. Do we know of an Old Testament passage of somebody who was born blind and received their sight? I don't think so. We've seen people raised from the dead, lepers healed. Okay. This is truth. I've never met anyone in my life. I grew up in a Pentecostal church, and I remember a blind woman that was in the church, and in the midst of having so much faith and you know, to cast out devils and do so many things, that woman I've never seen healed. I've never personally seen anyone healed who was blind from birth. Never heard of it. Again, maybe that has something to do with the fact that the light of the world was on the earth. And there's coming a time where the night was coming and the day would be gone. Yahusha speaking of himself. In case we're on a different video, I'm referring to I can't find it right now. I have to look for it. Maybe my wife will add it. There's a scripture up here that I read earlier about Yahusha being the light of the world. So this was a very, very profound word. Since the world began, it has been unheard of that anyone would open the eyes of one who was born blind. If this man were not from God, he could do nothing. They answered and said to him, you were completely born. They answered and said to him, you were completely born in sins, and are you teaching us? And they cast him out. You see, they're so prideful, so arrogant, so wicked. It reminds me so much. The only thing I can relate with is really prideful, arrogant Christian pastors. That's all I can relate with, because that's been my experience. There are Christian pastors who are so stubborn and prideful in their position that they won't budge not one bit, no matter what truth you show them. You know, and that's what's going on with these guys. But anyway, I hope that you guys were able to glean from these stories. I know that I have. I'm learning some things here. I feel a little bit more filled with faith and confidence. I got my brother in my mind that I'm going to be praying for, and I'm going to try to find opportunities to be more intentional. I want to see him healed. If it takes me every time I go to his house before I leave to anoint him with oil or to do something and to really believe Yah to do a miracle, may Yahuwah give me the faith and most importantly his spirit to be able to do this. But I have somebody in mind right now from what I read today to pray for and to expect a miracle. And I pray that Yahuwah fill him with the faith to be healed, right? That's a very important thing as well. Sometimes there are people, especially in America, living in the year 2020, where we have disability checks and government assistance. It's easy to get sucked into the system and dependent and comfortable and scared of what would happen if I do get healed. My government assistance will stop. Then I got to go out and look for a job. So there's a lot of these things that affect the healing process. And I'm not saying that that's what it is all the time, that the reason why somebody's not getting healed is because they don't have the faith for it. It's not what I'm saying. I don't want to make that, people to think that's what I'm saying. But that is a factor for sure. If the person does lack faith, you can be sure that is something that's hindering their healing. So, but anyway, that's all I got. I hope you enjoyed that. Shalom.